Go.
Dear Sir or Madam, I am writing to you as Lee McGarry, account number, in order to ascertain certain information regarding the mortgage I have with yourselves. I am not contesting the debt as yet, and I intend to keep on paying the mortgage. I just have the following concerns. My concerns are that the large banks, having been given the power to print money at will by way of effecting credits, loans, on the back of financial instruments created by phony securities and or instruments like loan applications, mortgage deeds, bogus power of attorneys, are now and have been committing fraud. So, as a result of such fraud in the system, I hereby demand clarification that no such fraud may have been committed against my person. I understand that the origins of this mortgage were between myself and Mortgage Express, so I am not accusing the Halifax of any wrongdoing, although you may have bought a fraudulent debt. I certainly hope not, and I hope you can clarify one way or the other. I would also like to point out that fraud vitiates every transaction and all contracts. Indeed, the principle is often stated in broad and sweeping language, that fraud destroys the validity of everything into which it enters. Fraud vitiates everything, FVE, is the legal principle that once it has been shown that one party has lied or committed deliberate misrepresentation, their whole case is thereby compromised and no longer defendable in a court of law. I would also like to bring to your attention the Great British Mortgage Swindle 1989 Laws of Property and Miscellaneous Act, Clause 2, Section 2, being any agreement for sale of transfer of an interest in land, including mortgage agreements, have to be in writing and signed by all parties. So I hereby request a valid deed of mortgage, as in War v. Boss 2014. I also demand to see all documents, whether Halifax deems them relevant or not, that have any information regarding Lee McGarry, any documents that contain my name or in any regards to me, but may not contain my name. I demand to see information, whatever it may be, concerning the original transaction from the original lenders and myself. I demand to see accounting documentation regarding the transfer of money from the original lender to the trustee. I demand to see accounting information regarding the full and complete transactions from start to finish regarding this mortgage. In short, I demand to see all accounting transactions regarding this mortgage. I demand to see any bills of exchange regarding this mortgage. A bill of exchange is an unconditional order in writing to pay on demand a sum of money addressed by one person or human being to another, requiring the person to whom it is addressed to pay on demand or at fixed determinable future time a sum certain to in money to the order of the specified person or to the bearer. An instrument that doesn't comply with these conditions is null and void, or, if additional interests are added, also null and void. I would also like to point out that the Bill of Exchange Act 1882, Section 2, states that an instrument in the form of a note is payable to the maker's order and is not a note unless and until it is endorsed by the maker. So I demand to see any notes or promissory notes regarding the mortgagee in question. I also demand to see any documents from Mortgage Express and Halifax regarding terms and conditions of this mortgage. I also demand to see any documents regarding power of attorney. There are cases where the power of attorney has not been mentioned and has been hidden deep within the paperwork of a mortgage. I would like to point out also that if there is no power of attorney, then all endorsements with my name on them are fraudulent. I would also like to point out that if the original loan amount was created by me using only my signature, then there has been a breach of trust by the trustee. That sum of money created by my signature was held by the trustee for me, and the trustee is duty bound to act in my best interests. If in fact the trustee securitized that money to sell to me at interest, when in fact all they were doing was facilitating credit, then this would in fact be called taking money under false pretences, which is criminal. I demand to see all deeds of assignment. I will not accept a notice of assignment. I also draw your attention to the Bill of Exchange Act 1882, Section 90, regarding good faith. A thing deemed to be done in good faith within the meaning of this Act, where it is in fact done honestly. I demand to see any special purpose vehicles with my name on them, and I also demand to see any delegation, novation agreements. I also demand to see and be informed of any documentation with my fictional legalese name on it, for example Lee McGarry, that has been passed from Mortgage Express to Halifax without my previous knowledge. I would also like to point out the following from Canon 2060, Section 1. Any instrument or arrangement that claims or purports or infers itself to be a mortgage that is not a trust is a clear example of deceptive and misleading conduct, rendering any and all obligations null and void, with the liability upon the one culpable of such a deceptive and misleading conduct. I also demand to see all present and future profits projected to be made from these arrangements regarding the mortgage. It is in my understanding that in order to clear this account upon payment in full, a note has to be produced and returned to me, so I demand to see this note. It is also my understanding that any instrument that claims or purports or infers itself to be a mortgage that lists the mortgagor as a grantor or gifter, it is clearly deceptive in contrary to any right of redemption or ownership and recovery. If the mortgagor fails to properly identify himself or the trust, then such action nullifies any effective agreement or enforceability under the true law. I would like to point out also Canon 2066, any inferior Roman court that openly permits the unrepaired and open fraud of trust law, unrepaired and open fraud of trust law, estate law, and the law of the wills by refusing to repudiate any financial institution as lender or attorney as mortgagee, that monetizes or multiplies the sale of the loan without consent or remedy to the borrower, openly consents, all laws above no longer apply and are null and void. I would also like to point out that this request is a data subject access request, and that you, Halifax, are duty bound by law to provide this information within 40 days of receiving this letter, which will be sent recorded delivery. Thank you very much.